Today, I'm finally showing you how I built this entire dream workspace from absolutely nothing. I have gone from working on jack stands in a 1x1 garage with absolutely no room to move, to installing a lift, painting the walls, installing floor tiles and cutting them in, wiring an entire LED grid system from scratch without any previous wiring experience, and turning this place into my dream space to build cars and make videos. But before I show you all of this, I need to take you back to where this channel really started. Because trust me, the transformation makes a lot more sense when you see where I came from.
In the beginning.
This is where everything started. A tiny garage that was barely the length of the car. I couldn't open the door without dinging it on something or the side of the wall. Half the time I had to plan where my feet went just so I could squeeze past everything. It was cramped, awkward, and sweaty, but it was home. This space is where the early passion really grew. Every late night, every broken bolt, every dodgy moment when I thought, this is how I die. So tip number one, don't ever do what I just did, because I just realized if I was pointing in the wrong direction, I could have killed myself. It all happened right here. As much as I loved this little spot, I knew it was holding us back. If I wanted to build bigger projects, tell better stories, and actually enjoy working on these cars, I definitely needed to level up. So let me show you what happened next. This is the place we moved into. Bigger than anything I've ever had, but also rough. Really rough. The first day I walked in, there was junk everywhere, broken furniture, dust, random leftover appliances. You know when you move into a rental and it feels like a crime scene cleanup is needed, this is the place. But even with all the mess, there was something exciting about it. A blank canvas, a proper workshop, space to breathe. When you come from a tiny garage, just hearing your own echo makes it feel surreal. I remember standing in the center of the room thinking, this could be the place. This could be where the builds finally step up. And here's where the real upgrades begin. The lift. I've wanted a proper lift for years. When you've spent half your life on jack stands and trying not to get crushed, this feels like graduating. I would always watch people on YouTube have lifts and I was just so envious of them. I was scrolling on Instagram one day and someone who I followed closely said they were selling a secondhand lift. Naturally, I was the first to jump on it, even though I didn't have the funds together for it. But we made it happen. We went out to his space, we picked it up and we brought it back here. That was no small feat. Thankfully, I managed to hire the same person who installed it just by chance. He uninstalled it from the venue and brought it over to our new shop with a tow truck. Once we arrived, we had to get these massive pillars up a huge hill. Our driveway is not very forgiving. They were heavy, awkward, and we had to install everything carefully. Move it all into position and make sure every measurement was exact. Lining up the posts took ages. Marking the bolt holes, drilling the floor, checking the alignment again and again. It is one of those jobs where if you get it wrong, you don't really get to pretend it's fine. You live with it kind of forever. When we finally stood the posts upright for the first time, like watching a project car get its wheels back on and taking it for the first drive for a long time. Bolting it down, connecting the hydraulic lines, installing the arms. By the time we were ready for the first test lift, I felt like a kid at Christmas. And when it went up for the first time smoothly, that was the first moment the shop truly felt real. This was now a proper workshop, not just a bigger room. The next step was making the place look good. Because let's be honest, old white walls do not look great on camera. I chose charcoal black for two reasons. First, it looks clean. Second, with good lighting, it makes every car stand out. You can really tell by how the skyline kind of just pops in the black space, especially with the lighting up top. We'll get to that later. What used to feel like a dusty warehouse now felt like an actual workshop, a place with personality. Painting this place took literally days, and by the end of it, I never wanted to see a paint roller again. It's hard to see on camera, but these walls are super porous, and every time we would put paint on it, it would just absorb it. I know you're meant to prime it. We learned that later. That's a mistake I'll never make again. Once we were finished, the room instantly felt more premium. Like the kind of dream workshop I always imagined when I was watching my favorite builders on YouTube. Once the walls were painted, the floor needed attention. Bare concrete gets dirty instantly and looks terrible after about 2 days. So we went with garage grid tiles. These tiles do two things. They keep the space clean and they give you a surface that looks good on camera. It also makes working far more comfortable. Snapping the tiles together was easy, that didn't take too long. Cutting them to fit perfectly around the lift feet, corners and some pillars, and the walls, that part took forever. Hours of kneeling, measuring, trimming, checking alignment. But the moment the final tile clicked in, the workshop finally felt complete. It looked like a real place where things get built, not just a make-believe dream. This was one of the biggest transformations of the entire project. And then came the final challenge of this entire build, and something I'm still trying to improve today, the lighting. I ordered 9 massive LED panels from Alibaba. Each one is 1200 by 600 millimeters. The plan was to build a full lighting grid above the lift so every car looks perfect on camera. What we're gonna be doing is doing a 9 by 9 grid right above the car and the lift, and it's a bit of a challenging one because if you look up top, you can see that all of these beams, the support beams where we need to hang wires from, support cable, they're actually running obviously in line with the building, but lift being offset, what I wanted to do was kind of do more of like a feature light that sort of follows where the car is and it's all centered to that. So our challenge today is to try and figure out how to center a light here. We're gonna go through the steps of what I've got. So we've got some Rio sort of, I can't remember what these are called, but they're a specific system that essentially you can grid ceilings with, and then you can put 600 by 1200 panels in them. And thankfully that these are the perfect size to be able to do a grid system for our LED lights. Our LED lights are 600 by 1200 as well, so it fits perfectly in there. So what we've got these 4 major beams, and then we've got these sort of cross members that go in between, and we've got heaps of those inside. And then we probably will need to buy some more dress pieces to frame it. I'll show you probably a diagram of what I've built as well in 3D on the screen now to try and give you a better idea visually, because I know explaining it with my hand kind of doesn't do it justice. But yeah, so that's our goal today. So I need to get up there, first step, measure out where I want to put the eyelets to hang wire from, drill pilot holes, get at least 8, like we can start with 4, but at least 8 eyelets, maybe even 12 to support this whole system, so that I just know it's overkill and it's never going to fall down, especially on top of my skyline, because that'd suck. But yeah, so we're gonna figure that out today, tackle that. Never done this before, figuring it out as I go, but I think overall it's going to be a really, really wicked addition to what is already a cool space. So yeah, we got the floors done, lighters next, and we can really start working on this thing because I've missed it. I want it on the road. There's a big video coming for it. I can't show you over there, but something happened that I want to fully explain. And yeah, so that's pretty exciting. But yeah, let's get into it and I'll update you as I go. I had never built something like this before. So we started by building a custom frame out of aluminum beams. But the challenge was that the roof goes up on an angle, it is inclining, and then also that the fact that we installed the lift on a 45-degree angle meant that we had to align the light to the lift just because it would look aesthetically pleasing. This came with its own challenges. Once we had the frame built and cut, we started by laying the panels out on the floor, checking spacing, making sure everything lined up. Then came the wiring. This was a mission. Every panel had to be wired individually. There were 2 controllers per LED panel, and they were all running into the frame. Then joined together into one single power line, fed down to a switch, back up, and then back to the wall. This thing was so big that it looked like we were building a lighting rig for a film studio. We spent hours cutting wires, hiding cables, and tidying everything up so it looks neat. It was a proper project all on its own. Then came the installation. We had to lift the entire frame into the ceiling, hang all the cables, and balance it all out while adjusting the angle to the roof. Drilling into these roof hardwood supports, I snapped like 3 drill bits. Once we had the framing adjusted to where we wanted it, then came the installation of all the individual panels. When we finally flicked the switch on for the first time, every one of those 9 panels lit up perfectly. The entire workshop came alive. Don't flatter me, it looked like shit. Once it's all balanced, I think it'll
I'm gonna turn off mine just in case you guys fuck up my life.
No, yeah.
I have faith.
3, 2, 1.
Whoa!
Right. Yeah, once it's all balanced, that's gonna look fucking sick.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. As you can see from the results on the car, it looks really sick. And here's the thing, lighting changes everything. It makes the workshop look incredible, it makes the cars glow, you get this really nice reflection on the cars. It makes filming so much easier. And it is probably my favorite part of this workshop build. The only challenge is, and something that I didn't foresee, is that thing's so bright that underneath the car really isn't that lit. I've got an idea for that, and we're gonna tackle that in an upcoming video. And this has to be one of the biggest upgrades I've ever done to any workshop.